The world we live in is rich with diversity of thought, culture, language, and love. At the heart of that diversity lies the profound spectrum of human identity, attraction, and expression. One of the most prominent and widely discussed topics today is LGBTQ+, an acronym that represents a vibrant, complex, and resilient community. Yet despite growing visibility, there remains widespread confusion, misunderstanding, and at times, misinformation about what LGBTQ+ truly means. This script, Decode the Rainbow, Everything You Should Know About LGBTQ+, aims to break down the concepts, terms, and human realities behind each letter, exploring the cultural significance, historical struggles, and ongoing journey toward equality and visibility. To decode the rainbow is to do more than just learn definitions. It is to listen, understand, empathize, and engage with the reality that gender and sexuality are not rigid boxes but living, breathing spectrums of human experience. Whether you identify as LGBTQ+ or are simply seeking to better understand the community, this script invites you into a space of compassion and clarity. We will explore identities, challenge stereotypes, and provide you with the tools to be a respectful ally, or a more confident, informed member of the LGBTQ+ family. Let us begin with the foundation, the acronym itself. LGBTQ+ stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning, and the plus symbol encompasses other sexualities, genders, and identities that are not explicitly included in the core 5 letters. Each of these terms holds its own history, struggles, meanings, and lived experiences. It's important to understand them not just as labels, but as deeply personal and social identities that reflect who people are and how they relate to the world. L stands for lesbian, a woman who is romantically or sexually attracted to other women. G is for gay, a term used broadly for same-gender attraction, often used by men who are attracted to men, but also used more generally. B represents bisexual, individuals who are attracted to more than one gender, not necessarily at the same time or in the same way. T is for transgender, people whose gender identity differs from the sex they were assigned at birth. Q can mean queer, a reclaimed umbrella term that challenges normative boundaries of gender and sexuality, or questioning, for those still exploring their identity. The plus includes identities such as pansexual, asexual, non-binary, intersex, agender, two-spirit, and many others, affirming that human identity is not limited to 5 categories. This evolving acronym reflects a simple truth: no one word can capture the infinite ways people experience love, identity, and gender. The LGBTQ+ community exists not just as a category of individuals, but as a force for visibility, resistance, and transformation across the globe. As we go further, we'll explore each identity in greater depth and then move into the broader context, history, misconceptions, activism, allyship, and more. The spectrum of sexual orientation. Sexual orientation is one of the most fundamental aspects of human identity, but also one of the most misunderstood. It refers to the emotional, romantic, and/or sexual attraction one feels toward others. While society has historically framed sexuality in binary terms, straight or gay, normal or deviant, the truth is that human desire is far more diverse, fluid, and nuanced than any single label can capture. Within the LGBTQ+ spectrum, sexual orientation includes a wide array of identities, each valid and deserving of recognition. Let's begin with the most familiar. A lesbian is a woman who is attracted to other women. This identity isn't new, it has existed throughout history and across cultures, despite efforts to erase or shame it. Lesbians face unique forms of discrimination, often marginalized not only for their sexuality but also for their gender. Their love challenges heteronormative assumptions and often resists patriarchal norms. Lesbian visibility matters deeply because it affirms that women's love, intimacy, and lives are whole and worthy, even when not defined in relation to men. Next is gay, a term commonly used to describe men who are romantically or sexually attracted to other men. However, many people also use gay as a broader umbrella term to refer to all same-gender love. Gay men have historically faced brutal oppression, from criminalization to social rejection, but they have also been at the forefront of LGBTQ+ activism. The early AIDS crisis, for instance, saw the gay community rally together in grief and in resistance, forcing the world to take notice of a health emergency it preferred to ignore. Today, being gay is more visible than ever, yet prejudice still lingers, especially in conservative and religious contexts. Bisexuality is often one of the most misunderstood orientations. A bisexual person is attracted to more than one gender, not necessarily equally or in the same way. Unfortunately, bisexuality is frequently dismissed as a phase, a cover, or confusion. This form of erasure, called bi-erasure, can come from both outside and within the LGBTQ+ community. But bisexuality is real, valid, and deeply rooted in both historical and contemporary experiences. Many people live full and fulfilling lives as bisexuals, experiencing attraction across genders in ways that are unique and complex. As we move beyond the binary, we encounter pansexuality, an orientation where someone is attracted to people regardless of gender. The word pan comes from the Greek meaning all, and pansexual individuals often describe their attraction as based on connection, personality, or energy rather than gender identity. Pansexuality overlaps with bisexuality in some ways but has its own distinct cultural identity. It pushes us to challenge gender norms and to think of attraction as an experience that can transcend traditional categories. Another key identity is asexuality, or ace for short. An asexual person typically experiences little to no sexual attraction to others. This doesn't mean they are broken or incapable of love. Many asexual people experience romantic attraction and form deep, meaningful relationships. Asexuality is often invisible in mainstream narratives, leading to harmful myths that pathologize or ridicule it. Yet asexuality is a valid orientation, deserving of respect and understanding, especially in a culture that often equates value with sexual desirability. Sexual orientation also includes demisexuality, where individuals only experience sexual attraction after forming an emotional bond. For demisexual people, attraction is not about immediate spark or physical chemistry, it grows with trust, safety, and connection. Like asexuality, demisexuality helps us expand our definitions of intimacy and reminds us that everyone experiences desire differently. Sexual orientation is not always fixed. Some people experience fluidity, where their attractions change over time or depending on context. This is normal and healthy. Human beings are not static, and neither is our sense of who we are or who we love. Understanding this fluidity is essential to respecting people's evolving identities. This broad and beautiful spectrum of sexual orientation exists to reflect the many ways people experience love, attraction, and connection. Labels can be empowering for some and limiting for others. What matters most is that each person has the freedom to name and express their truth without fear or shame. By understanding these identities, we take one step closer to dismantling prejudice and building a world where all forms of love are honored. The complexity of gender identity and expression. While sexual orientation addresses who we are attracted to, gender identity speaks to who we are. It is our innermost understanding of ourselves as male, female, both, neither, or something else entirely. Gender identity is deeply personal and may or may not align with the sex assigned to us at birth. This distinction between sex and gender is critical to understanding the experiences of transgender and non-binary individuals, and yet, it is a concept that many people struggle with due to deeply ingrained societal norms. From an early age, most of us are assigned a gender based on our physical anatomy, male or female. This is known as assigned sex at birth, and it typically leads to expectations about how we should behave, dress, speak, and live. But for millions of people around the world, those expectations don't align with their inner reality. That's where gender identity comes in. It is the sense of self that lives inside each of us, regardless of the body we inhabit. Transgender, or trans, refers to someone whose gender identity differs from the sex they were assigned at birth. A trans woman is someone who was assigned male at birth but identifies and lives as a woman. A trans man is someone who was assigned female at birth but identifies and lives as a man. Being transgender is not about trends or confusion, it is about truth. Trans people are not pretending or changing who they are becoming who they've always known themselves to be. Transitioning, which may include changing one's name, pronouns, appearance, or undergoing medical procedures, is a deeply personal process that varies from person to person. Non-binary is another identity within the broader transgender umbrella. Non-binary individuals do not exclusively identify as male or female. Their identity may be a blend of both, neither, or something entirely different. Non-binary people may use gender-neutral pronouns like they/them and often challenge the very framework of gendered thinking. The existence of non-binary identities reminds us that gender is not a black and white concept, but a spectrum. Cultures around the world have long recognized more than two genders, such as the Hijra in South Asia, the two-spirit individuals in many indigenous cultures, or the Afafin in Samoa, showing that gender diversity is not new but often ignored in Western contexts. Gender expression is how someone outwardly presents their gender through clothing, voice, hairstyle, body language, and more. This expression might be masculine, feminine, both, or neither. Importantly, gender expression does not necessarily match a person's gender identity or sexual orientation. A cisgender man, someone whose gender identity aligns with his assigned sex, can wear makeup or dress in traditionally feminine ways and still be a man. A non-binary person might present in a masculine way and still not identify as a man. Expression is creative, evolving, and culturally shaped. Understanding the complexity of gender identity also requires us to confront the cultural forces that police it. From childhood, we're taught what's for boys and for girls. These rigid roles can harm everyone, not just trans or non-binary people. Boys who show emotion are called weak. Girls who lead are called bossy. When we enforce narrow gender norms, we create boxes that suffocate the true self. But when we dismantle those norms, everyone, including cisgender individuals, benefits from greater freedom to live authentically. It's also essential to differentiate gender identity from sexual orientation. Being transgender is not a sexual orientation, it's about who you are, not who you love. A trans man may be gay, straight, bisexual, or asexual, just like anyone else. Confusing the two erases the diversity within the transgender community and reinforces harmful stereotypes. Affirming someone's gender identity is a matter of respect and human dignity. Using someone's correct pronouns, acknowledging their name, and allowing them autonomy over their body are basic acts of recognition. Trans and non-binary individuals face higher rates of discrimination, mental health challenges, and violence, not because of their identity, but because of the stigma placed upon them. By learning and respecting their identities, we contribute to a more inclusive and humane world. Gender identity and expression are not burdens or political ideologies, they are expressions of the human spirit's need to be seen, accepted, and loved. When we make space for that truth, we all grow. LGBTQ+ history and the fight for rights. Understanding the LGBTQ+ community requires more than just learning identities, it demands that we acknowledge the rich, often painful history of resistance, resilience, and progress. The path to visibility and legal recognition has been neither smooth nor short. Around the world, LGBTQ+ people have faced centuries of systemic marginalization, criminalization, and violence. But they have also forged communities, sparked movements, and reshaped cultures. To truly decode the rainbow, we must walk through the milestones of this journey, where it began, how it evolved, and where it stands today. Long before the acronym LGBTQ+ was coined, diverse expressions of gender and sexuality existed across ancient civilizations. In ancient Greece, male-male love was common and culturally accepted. Indigenous cultures in the Americas, Africa, and Asia had spiritual and social roles for gender-diverse individuals. These people were often revered, not rejected. But with the rise of colonialism, Christianity as a ruling ideology, and Victorian morality, diverse sexual and gender identities were repressed, outlawed, and erased. The history of LGBTQ+ oppression is not just about prejudice, it's about power, conquest, and the erasure of non-conforming people. Fast forward to the 20th century, modern LGBTQ+ rights movements began taking shape. The early 1900s saw small advocacy groups in Europe and the US, but it wasn't until the Stonewall riots of 1969 that the modern LGBTQ+ rights movement truly exploded. In the early hours of June 28, 1969, LGBTQ+ patrons of the Stonewall Inn, a gay bar in New York City, fought back against a police raid. Led by trans women of color like Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, this act of resistance sparked days of protest and awakened a generation of queer activism.